There's much talk of addictions, and not just to chemical-based ones these days. Can we have an addiction to chaos, for instance? And is this thus one of the biggest addictions out there, and growing, especially since the age of industrialization, when more and more people flocked to the cities for, quote, jobs, especially in England starting off, textile mills and so on. Durkheim talked of this, a sociologist. I think he may have been French, but there are short videos on YouTube about him and his ideas and how suicides went up hugely when this started to become more and more prevalent, the going to the urban areas for the jobs in the mills and so on. Now, I've seen, for instance, too, why it is said some Mexicans come to America illegally because they feel so bored, some say, in their little villages. Well, boredom in my mind is a feeling of anxiety or fear or catastrophizing from not being distracted from one's thoughts. And I'd say that this probably has accelerated massively in small towns and villages all over the world through television, especially as a medium which conveys the idea that the grass is greener on the other side of the fence, i.e. in America or other areas where people seemingly are happier because they're smiling and having a display of objects that aren't possessed in these small villages. And when they get here to the Shangri-Las, they discover big mistakes they made and that people are miserable, far more so in many respects, in the Shangri-La locations. But then they become trapped. They may have somehow or another, in fact, indentured themselves by way of taking out big loans to even get here. Or they may have brought whole families along with them, and then to extract and go back would be very costly in many a way, financially and emotionally. Thus, I like to use the term I coined for myself the other day, that we humans all too often can develop a phenomenon I call distractivitis, or chaos-itis, in which it is a mirage, like offering a drug to someone of a chemical-based nature that will solve problems in the short term but not the long term, i.e. it's escapism 101. This is pointed out, for instance, of a sort in the movie with Nick Nolte and Barbara Streisand, I believe, Prince of Tides, which probably came out about 30, 40 years ago. And in this movie, Nick Nolte had a sister who went to New York City, and Nick Nolte said this sister loved all the cacophony of things up there. Well, some would say it is simply a matter of being very fascinating to study and be experiencing all these varieties of things. And yet others would say that it fulfills the function of chaotic distraction. All the honking horns, the noise, the violence, the fear generated then, too. Of course, the multiplicity of everything, not just products, but cultures, namely some 200 different religions, and all that comes with it, for instance. It's a melting pot. Melting pots can be chaotic. I have, for instance, on a table here, a book, Data Smog. Well, that's referring to data smog as per lots of data from books. But can't we thus have the same thing in terms of chaotic environments being chaos smog also, as per distractive functions, to distract us from our painful thoughts of the past and fears about the future, especially things we catastrophize. Isn't that then why perhaps New York City is called the manic city, or what I would call neon sign living, or why it is derogatorily said by some, Sin City, or maybe that's LA, I'm not sure. You might say Vice City in terms of distractions also. But I like the term again, chaos, and thus can we have an addiction to chaos? Just like it is referred to as per this one book, data smog, concerning too much reading of books. The cacophony or chaos of conflicting or ill-described ideas. You can call it data smog or chaos smog.